The morning light enters slowly through the curtains of a small but carefully arranged apartment in Abuja. Dust particles float gently in the air. Linda moves quietly across the room, adjusting pillows, folding clothes, and checking her phone again and again. She pauses in front of a mirror, staring at her reflection. Her face holds a soft smile. Her fingers lightly touch her cheek, and under her breath, almost like a promise to herself, she murmurs that everything is finally coming together. The phone in her hand lights up again, showing a wedding checklist. Her eyes scan through it slowly until they land on one name, Martha. She pauses for a second, then she locks the phone and continues moving. Later in the afternoon, in a small cave, Linda sits across from Jude, her hands resting gently in his. She leans forward slightly, saying she wishes everything will go as planned. Jude speaks calmly. He told her that she worries too much, that everything is already settled, that their future is secure. Linda smiles at him. She then speaks about her sister, about the sacrifices, the years, the things she gave up. She explains how everything she has done was to make sure Martha could have a better life. Jude nods slowly, but his eyes drift away. Linda does not notice. The airport is alive with movement. People arriving, people talking, footsteps echoing. Linda stands near the entrance, holding a small bouquet, her eyes scanning every face that passes by. Then she sees her. Martha walks forward through the crowd, confident, composed, and changed. Linda freezes, taking in the difference. The posture, the presence, the quiet confidence that was not there before. Emotion finally takes over her. She runs forward, wrapping her arms around Martha tightly. Martha hugs her back, but her eyes remain open, observing everything around her. She softly mentions that home looks different. Outside the airport, the air feels lighter. Jude steps out of the car, walking toward them. Then it happens. His eyes meet Martha's, and in that moment, everything slows. Martha looks back at him, calm and curious. Linda stands between them, smiling, unaware of the silent exchange happening right in front of her. She introduces them, her voice full of warmth. That night, silence settles gently over the house. Linda lies in bed, sleeping soundly. In another part of the house, Martha stands by a window, looking out into the quiet Abuja night. Her reflection stares back at her. Elsewhere, Jude sits alone, his phone in his hand, unmoving, as if caught between two decisions he has not yet made. Linda moves through the living room with steady purpose, her hands adjusting cushions, straightening objects. She glances toward Martha and says with a light welcoming tone, "I moved a few things around before you came. I thought it would feel more comfortable for you." Martha sits with composed ease, her posture relaxed, her gaze moving slowly across the room. She nods slightly and replies, "It looks good. You've made it your own." Linda smiles at that, taking it as approval. "It took time, but I wanted everything to feel right." Martha's eyes linger on the framed picture of Linda and Jude. Her expression remains calm as she adds, "I can see that." Linda continues speaking, pointing out small details, explaining changes, filling the room with conversation, but Martha's responses come slower and shorter. Later at noon, Linda sits across from Jude. She speaks with quiet excitement, her hands moving gently as she describes plans she has already begun to imagine in detail. She leans forward slightly and says, "I spoke to the decorator this morning. I think we should go with something softer. Maybe more neutral colors. It will feel more intimate." Jude nods with a calm expression. "That sounds fine." Linda watches him for a moment before continuing. "And the guest list, have been thinking we should keep it smaller, just close people." Jude responds again, "Whatever you prefer." As Linda continues speaking, her smile remains, but her eyes begin to study him more closely. She pauses slightly and asks, "Are you listening?" Jude looks back at her immediately. "Of course I am." She holds his gaze for a second longer, then nods. "Okay." She continues speaking. Jude's attention drifts again, just briefly, his fingers tapping lightly against the table before stilling. Linda notices, but she does not question it again. Instead, she continues as if nothing has changed. From a short distance, Daniel watches without drawing attention to himself. He sits back in his chair in a relaxed posture. His gaze shifts between Linda and Jude, not following their words, but their timing and their reactions. He notices how Linda fills every gap in the conversation. He notices how Jude responds just enough to keep things moving. Evening settles over the house. Linda moves between rooms, her voice steady as she speaks about simple things, maintaining a rhythm that keeps everything feeling normal. Martha listens, responding when necessary, her tone controlled, her attention moving in and out of the conversation. Then the door opens. Jude steps in. Linda turns immediately, smiling. "You are back. I was just talking about you." Jude nods, stepping inside. Traffic was bad. Linda laughs lightly. "That's Abuja for you." Martha watches from where she sits. As Jude moves further into the room, his eyes meet hers briefly. Linda continues speaking, unaware of the shift that has already taken place. She stands between them, smiling, connecting both sides of the room. Night settles fully over the city. Inside the house, Linda stands near the window, her phone pressed gently to her ear. She speaks first with a calm voice. "Are you still at work?" There is a pause before Jude answers. On the other end, he stands alone in a dimly lit space, his face partially covered by shadow. He replies, his voice steady. "Yes, we had a late meeting. I'm just wrapping up." Linda nods softly, even though he cannot see her. "Okay, I was just checking. Don't stress yourself too much." Jude responds quickly. "I won't." She smiles, reassured. "All right." The call ends. Linda lowers her phone, her expressions peaceful. Across the city, Jude lowers his phone slowly. What he said was simple, but it was not true. The afternoon settles gently over the house, spreading soft light across every surface, touching the walls, the furniture, the quiet rhythm of a home that has always felt steady. Linda moves around the kitchen with practiced ease, her hands working through familiar routines. She speaks as she walks, her voice calm and steady, carrying into the living room without effort. She talks about small plans, what still needs to be arranged for the wedding, what she might cook the next day, how everything is finally coming together. She glances briefly toward the living room and adds with a light smile, "I just want everything to be perfect, just once, you know." Her tone carries hope, simple and sincere. In the living room, Martha sits comfortably, but her attention is not fully there. She responds when necessary, nodding slightly, offering short replies like, "It will be fine," and "You've done more than enough." But her gaze drifts, her mind not anchored to the conversation. Then the front door opens. Jude steps inside. He pauses just slightly as he enters. His eyes move calmly, landing first on Martha before moving away again. Martha's eyes lift in response, almost at the same moment. Linda continues speaking. Jude walks further in, greeting lightly. "You are both home early today." His voice is casual and controlled. Linda answers immediately from the kitchen. "I wanted to finish up a few things before tomorrow. Come and taste this when I'm done." Jude nods, but his attention drifts again, just for a moment. As the day stretches toward evening, the house changes. Linda steps away, her presence moving out of the space as she disappears into another room. Martha stands near the window, her arms folded lightly, her gaze fixed on the fading light outside. The sky shifts slowly, colors blending into each other. Jude remains in the house, standing a few steps away. He does not move closer immediately. For a while, neither of them speaks. Then Jude breaks the silence, his voice measured. "You've changed since you came back." Martha does not turn immediately. She lets the words settle before responding. "People change when they leave and when they come back." Jude nods slightly, taking a step closer, but still keeping distance. "Abuja feels different with you here." Martha turns now, slowly, with a controlled expression. Different how? There is a pause before he answers. I don't know, just different. She studies him for a moment, then looks away again, her voice softer. Maybe you are just noticing things you didn't notice before. Jude lets out a quiet breath, his expression tightening slightly. Or maybe I ignored them. The words hang between them. Neither of them moves away. Linda returns, bringing energy back into the room with her presence. She walks in with a smile, carrying something in her hands, her voice immediately filling the space again. She laughs lightly, placing the item down and looking between them. Come and sit, I want to show you something. Martha and Jude respond, adjusting themselves quickly. Linda continues, her excitement growing as she speaks about the wedding, about colors, about plans she has carefully built piece by piece. I was thinking we should change the arrangement slightly. Make it more intimate. What do you think? Jude nods, answering smoothly. Whatever you want is fine. Martha adds, it's your day. It should feel like you. Linda smiles, satisfied. As she continues speaking, her words flow easily. Behind her, Martha and Jude exchange a brief glance. Daniel later joins them. He watches them closely. His eyes move between Linda, Martha, and Jude, observing everything. Daniel leans slightly forward, his expression tightening with a thought. At one point, he turns to Linda and says quietly, You've been doing everything alone for this wedding. You should let people help you more. Linda smiles, brushing it off. I'm used to it. It's easier that way. Daniel studies her for a moment longer before adding, Not everything should be handled alone. She laughs lightly, not fully understanding what he means. I'm fine, Daniel, really. Daniel nods slowly, but his gaze shifts back to Martha and Jude. Night settles over the house. Linda is no longer in the room. Martha stands near the doorway, her hand resting lightly against the frame. Jude stands a few steps away, watching her. He speaks first, his voice low. We should be careful. Martha does not turn immediately. About what? He hesitates, then answers. About whatever this is. She turns slowly, her expression steady. You are the one who said it feels different. Jude takes a small step closer. That doesn't mean it should. Martha studies him, her voice softer now. Then why are you still standing here? The question lingers. Jude does not answer immediately. Instead, he moves slightly closer again. Martha does not step back. Their eyes meet, this time longer than before. Jude says slowly and says, almost under his breath, This is wrong. Martha holds his gaze and replies, Then walk away. He doesn't, and neither does she. Morning settles over the house as Linda stands in front of her mirror, adjusting her dress carefully. She steps back slightly, looking at herself with a small, satisfied smile. She picks up her phone and scrolls through her wedding plans, checking items one after the other. Her lips move slightly as she reads, quietly reminding herself of what still needs to be done. From the other room, Martha walks in slowly, dressed neatly, her posture confident. Linda turns immediately, her face lightening up as she says that she was just going through the wedding list again and that everything is almost ready. She walks closer to Martha and adds, smiling, that she wants everything to be perfect so that everyone will be proud. Martha nods, her lips forming a soft smile, and she responds calmly that everything already looks perfect. Linda laughs lightly and replies that she has to do more because this moment only comes once. As Linda speaks, Martha's eyes rest on her for a moment longer than necessary, her expression steady but unreadable. Later that day, Martha stands outside the cave, holding her phone in her hand. She looks at the screen for a moment, reading a message again. She types a short reply and sends it. Moments later, Jude arrives. He walks toward her with a controlled expression, stopping just in front of her. For a brief second, neither of them speaks. Then Martha breaks the silence by saying that she did not think he would actually come. Jude lets out a small breath, and replies that he did not think he would either. Then Jude gestures toward the cave entrance, and they both walk in together. Inside the cave, they sit across from each other. At first, their conversation stays on safe ground. Jude asks how she has been adjusting since returning, and Martha replies that everything feels different but familiar at the same time. Martha looks at him directly and says that Linda talks about him a lot and that she can see why. Jude pauses slightly, then responds that Linda is a good person and that she has always been that way. Martha leans back slightly and says that being good is not always enough. Jude looks at her more closely now, his expression tightening just a little. He asks what she means. Martha shrugs slightly and replies that sometimes people give everything and still end up being taken for granted. Jude looks away briefly before saying that Linda is not taken for granted. Martha holds his gaze and says quietly that she hopes that is true. Later that evening, Linda sits with Daniel. She speaks about the wedding again, her excitement steady, her voice filled with certainty. Daniel listens quietly for a while before finally interrupting. He looks directly at her and tells her that he needs to say something, and he wants her to listen carefully without getting upset. Linda pauses, slightly surprised, and tells him to go ahead. Daniel leans forward slightly and says that he has been watching things for a few days now and that something is not right. Linda frowns slightly and asks what he means. Daniel continues, telling her that Jude behaves differently around Martha, that it may not be obvious, but it is there, and that she should pay attention. Linda lets out a small laugh and shakes her head, telling him that he is overthinking things. She explains that Martha is her sister and that Jude is her fiancé, and there is no reason to even imagine anything beyond that. Daniel holds her gaze and says quietly that sometimes the people closest to us are the ones we trust the most, even when we should be asking questions. Linda's smile fades slightly, but she quickly replaces it, telling him again that everything is fine and that he should not worry. Daniel leans back slowly, realizing that she has already decided not to see it. That night, Linda walks down the hallway, holding her phone loosely in her hand. She slows down as she approaches a partially open door. Inside the room, Martha and Jude are standing closer than they should be. Martha is speaking, her voice low but clear, as she tells him that this is already becoming something they cannot control. Jude responds that he knows, but he does not step away. Linda remains at the door watching. Her expression changes slightly, not fully understanding, but noticing something she cannot explain. Then Martha steps back quickly, creating distance. Jude turns his body slightly away. Linda pushes the door open and steps in, her face returning to a soft smile as she asks casually what they are talking about. Martha answers immediately, saying that they were just discussing the wedding plans. Linda nods, accepting the answer without hesitation, and she lets it go. Linda stands in the kitchen, arranging plates carefully on the table. She glances toward the door as Jude walks in, adjusting his wristwatch. She smiles warmly and tells him that she made breakfast early because she knows he has a busy day. Jude nods briefly and sits down, picking up his phone almost immediately. Linda watches him for a second, then sits across from him and asks how his meeting went the previous day. Jude replies without looking up, saying that it was fine and that everything is under control. Linda pauses, then asks why he came back late last night. Jude lifts his head slightly and answers that he had extra work to finish and that she should not worry about it. Linda nods slowly, trying to accept it, but her eyes stay on him a moment longer than usual. She then forces a small smile and tells him that she trusts him and that she just wanted to know. Jude gives a short nod and returns his attention to his phone. Later that afternoon, Jude stands outside his office building, holding his phone tightly. He looks around briefly before answering the call. It is Martha. He lowers his voice slightly and asks where she is. Martha replies that she is nearby and that she needed to see him. Jude exhales slowly and tells her that this is getting risky and that they need to be careful. Martha responds calmly that if they were truly being careful, they would not still be talking like this. Jude looks away, then tells her to wait for him at the usual place and that he will come. He ends the call. Jude walks into a quiet lounge where Martha is already seated. She does not stand to greet him this time. Instead, she looks at him directly and asks how long they plan to keep pretending. Jude sits down slowly and tells her that they should not be having this conversation again. Martha leans forward slightly and tells him that pretending has not stopped anything and that they both know it. Jude shakes his head and says that Linda does not deserve this. Martha responds immediately, telling him that Linda deserves honesty, not a lie that keeps growing. Jude looks at her more intensely now and asks if she thinks this is honesty. Martha holds his gaze and says that what they feel is real, whether they like it or not. There is a long pause between them. That evening, Daniel meets Linda again. This time his expression is more serious. He looks directly at her and tells her that he cannot keep quiet anymore. Linda frowns slightly and asks what he means. Daniel takes a breath and tells her clearly that something is happening between Jude and Martha and that she needs to open her eyes. Linda immediately shakes her head and says that he is wrong and that he should not say things like that. Daniel continues, telling her that he has seen the way they look at each other and that it is not normal. Linda's voice becomes firmer as she tells him that Martha is her sister and that Jude will never do that to her. Daniel leans forward and says that trust does not mean ignoring signs and that she should at least pay attention instead of dismissing everything. Linda stands up slowly, her expression changing, and tells him that she will not sit there and listen to him accuse the two people she trusts the most. Daniel watches her as she walks away. Night falls again. Jude and Martha stand facing each other in a dimly lit room. There is no distance between them now. Martha looks at him and says that they cannot keep doing this halfway, that it is either they stop completely or they face it. Jude runs his hand across his face and says that stopping is what they should have done from the beginning. Martha steps closer and asks him directly if he can stop. Jude does not answer immediately. Instead, he looks at her. Martha, he says slowly, and says that this is no longer something they can hide forever. Jude finally speaks and says that they need to stop hiding this. Hi everyone. Thank you so much for watching and listening to the first part of his sister's betrayal. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more.